Hello everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Web of Weird with me, your co-host David Farrell, and as always, my brother, herbalist extraordinaire, rock and roller, the one and only Mr. Pete Jackson Main in the house.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be back.
Right. So, as usual, trying to throw some humor and gusto into the big shit show that we're all currently experiencing and trying to make light, perhaps, of some difficult challenges that people are perceiving, but also, perhaps, more importantly, trying to give a more fifth dimensional Eagles perch non-dual perspective to help us all navigate these slightly choppy waters. So, dude, it's been a little while since
Oh,
we did a show, and there's been a lot going on. But how are you, bro? How are you doing?
I'm good, actually. And I think, I have to put the caveat in, despite what's going on.
Exactly.
We'll get into that. But I'm
Mhm.
actually, as Leonard Cohen said, cheerfulness keeps breaking through. It's one of my favorite quotes from him. And however dark it gets, I'm actually quite enjoying the ride. It's a white knuckle ride for sure. And I have my moments, but actually, when it
Right.
comes down to it, I'm fine.
So, even if the sunlight is breaking through into your world, is it breaking through the chemtrails that everyone keeps telling me about that are crisscrossing across Britain, dude? What the F is going on with that?
Well, I mean, it's almost, I'm horrified actually to have to admit that even for me, I'm like, oh yeah, that again. It's almost got normal. And it is serious. People have been complaining that their plants aren't growing. I've noticed that there's less on offer at the local garden market, the farmers market. There's a reduction in the sort of the variety of produce as well as the volume of produce, and they're complaining. I mean, it's wet. It's really seriously wet, cold, damp, and it's not even a healthy kind of wet, usual sort of,
No.
British Isles, misty Isle kind of wet, damp. It's toxic somehow. It's clogged. It's a kind of expression of what the Galenic physicians would call phlegm.
Ugh.
Phlegm as a pathogen, a plethora of phlegm is
Uh-huh.
surrounding it, and you can see it in people's health patterns as well. They are full of phlegm.
Well, you know what? That's very interesting because I'm seeing the same over here. But at the risk of getting ourselves into trouble here on YouTube, we will be doing our first 5 minutes, and that's my bag, so I just dive straight into that. But we are going to lay out a few of the interesting points that me and the bro want to talk about today, and then we'll head over to we can say perhaps more safer space of Rumble. So today, bro, we want to take a look because we were just, as always, before hitting record, talking through how we wanted to get into the topics of today. We're going to be looking at the big news that has been happening this side of the pond, which has been a lot of over the last 2 weeks, but also then coming across back to Britain, particularly, and saying, well, what's the difference here? Why is one like this, and how are the two going to come together perhaps in the very near future to resolve many issues? Because the ambience, bro, is very, very different. That much I can say. Yes, lots of big things happening, lots of crazy experiences, aeroplanes particularly, which require some decoding. And most of all, lots of very, very positive announcements, which I know even in the UK, many people, particularly watching Web of Weird, are also plugged into. So we'll be having a look at both of those, but we also want to do a bit of a deep dive on where the UK is at, because as you said, it's full of phlegm. I think that that's probably a very good way of describing things because everything feels kind of clogged and mucousy and a bit like you just described, perhaps not free of toxins. So,
Mm.
um, we'll be having a look at
Well,
all of that and more. Go
the
on.
phlegmatic humor in
Phlegmatic.
humoral medicine, in the medicine, the energetic medicine, the original medicine of Europe, is a funny one because if you're phlegmatic, you're quite kind of calm about
Right.
things actually. But there's also a sort of, I call the phlegmatic humor the whatever humor. Yeah, whatever. I can't really be bothered. Whatever. and
Whatever.
it, and that's what I see a lot about. But then it gets um, it gets kind of worse than that because in my job, and I chose a long time ago to minister to the sick and do all of that. I got into it because I also needed ministering to, and it was the discoveries that I made in, making progress with my own health that drew me into what I now have as a profession. But because I see a lot of sick people, and I've got a reputation here for particularly. I mean, I didn't even ask for it really, but it's happened that the people with the really kind of so-called intractable problems, and there have been many since 2021 and the
Right, we'll get into
arrival of
that.
the offered medication. And I find that that's very often in the etiology of the picture. But I'm coming across cases that I'm finding are kind of I'm looking at them, and even before I really talk to the person, I'm like, no, I can't help with that. It's almost like a kind of energetic recognition that this is
Yeah,
beyond me. But it was very interesting, I think, on a couple of occasions to note that when I did get into the case and start looking at it, it wasn't the physical stuff that was hampering me. It was the attitude behind it. It was the almost like a layer, a kind of a
resistance.
I could describe it as a shell of
Mm,
desperation, despair, isolation,
yeah,
uh, and a complete kind of blocking out, a bit like the sky here, blocking out of the sun. I
interesting.
mean, we have an occasional sunny day, but the rest of it is just dark, dank, grey, cloud cover most of the time. And it's like people's consciousness is like that as well. And they're sort of
Yes.
floating around in this phlegm, literal and metaphorical, and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I know what to do. If it were me, I'd know what to do. I've had moments, however, when even for me, I've thought, can I do this?
Yeah.
Or should I just
I'm
go to
sure we
bed?
all. Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
uh, and I've just kind of been working with that one a lot and trying to, I guess, kind of come up with a strategy to help people who are in that space,
Right.
even though part of me is saying, I'm not sure whether you can do this. And I've got something that's very important to me and very dear to me at the moment. I mean, I've loved my last two books, which I've talked about before, but this one, the next one that's coming up, is just called Natural Healing, and I think it's a bit special. So look out for that. And it's basically a kind of a melting pot of everything that I've learned in 50 years of studying natural medicine. And it's uncompromising. It doesn't pull any punches, and it's
Wouldn't
complete.
expect anything less, bro.
But my message is here it is. If you want to know how to fix yourself, here it is. The whole picture, everything, that you need to know. And yeah, okay, so it doesn't have this special supplement, and there might be a few herbs that I haven't mentioned, etc., etc. But it's not about that. It's actually about the attitude. It's about your connection to I could say your higher self if you want, but what I really mean is the vis medicatrix naturae, the healing power of nature,
I
which is the
agree.
nature that's within us, and that's a direct connection to the Godhead through our own souls. That's where natural healing comes from, and that's the message that I'm giving. Yes, clean up your plate, clean up your life, clean up your dinner plate, you know, clean up your emotions. Do a bit of a detox. Absolutely, detox is fundamental. But beyond that, if you detox without the soul, you're still not going to get it.
No. Well, I think that that's probably a good intro into many of the things that we're going to be looking at today, and we'll be continuing this conversation in just a few moments over on our Rumble channel as we look at the more expanded picture of what the brother is talking about and how it relates to our new director of healthcare this side of the pond, the announcements he's been making, and how the future finally looks like it's going to be quantum healthcare system, i.e., spirituality informs our physical conditions. What a hallelujah moment this could be for many people, bro. So I'm just going to hit a stop here, and please do follow us all over to the Rumble channel. If you've got to the end of this sort of first 10 minutes, please hit like and subscribe. And if you do, let us know, and we'll give you a gold banana as a reward for making it to the end of these videos, as we always do. We're having fun here on YouTube, but also wanting to inform in our own way, from our own perspectives and our own backgrounds, the best understandings that we have about many things that are coming up in our society. And we're going to be looking more at the topic Pete just talked about. We're also going to be getting into what the Prime Minister of Britain is really up to, if he's up to anything at all, and that's a big question. And then we're going to be looking at how all of this relates to the situation in Europe and what is going to happen this week with now the confirmation of Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Tulsi Gabbard, and Bobby Kennedy as the sort of dream team who are going to kick some butt, and how does that look, and what are going to be the first steps. So we'll see you all over on Rumble in just a moment or two. Bye for now.